Today's movie makes up for what it lacks in brain cells in entertainment. Of course, I'm talking about Bruno Mattei's The Gel, The Woman's Hell. So it's been a while since I've tackled the world of Bruno Mattei, at least on video, because I'm pretty sure it's the director I've watched the most movies from this year. I'm sorry, Daddy Jess. So I wanted to come back to his films with a bang, and what a bang this is.
What the f*** is happening?
For people who are unfamiliar, Bruno Mattei was an Italian director who directed a bunch of movies like Rats Night of Terror, Hell of the Living Dead, and of course, Strike Commando. He frequently worked with Claudio Fragasso, the man that directed Troll 2, but in the early to late 2000s, pretty much until he passed away in 2007, he took the route of Roger Corman, that being producing films in the Philippines, where he brought back from the grave the world of sleazy-ass exploitation films. And this one, by the way, This Scene Happens, is a throwback to women in prison films, but he somehow turns it into a jungle cannibal adventure film in the last 30 minutes. Why, you may ask? Because he was a genius.
You really are a big whore.
And this one is hard to talk about because the first hour is basically a compilation of the best of women in prison, storylines, characters, plot, I don't know, this movie makes no goddamn sense. We are introduced to 3 characters who are on a boat on their way to the jail. That happens to be in the middle of the jungle. None of these characters are really important other than the character of Jennifer, played by Yvette Izon, I don't really know how to pronounce it, who was kind of a big deal when it came to Bruno Mattei's film that he produced in the Philippines. She's basically in all of them. They're all going to jail for basically killing pimps, I think. It's not really made clear, but they're going to jail. When they get to the jail, we meet our warden, who's just your typical woman in prison film warden, so she's a complete bitch.
Punishment must be carried out.
Then our new prisoners are sent to the doctor so we can see their nude bodies, of course. Then we meet the rest of their jail mates. There's of course the older lady that plays Stuff, but she kind of really likes our new characters. And the snitch. In this case, the snitch is addicted to drugs, and the warden gives her drugs anytime she gives them information. But that character is kind of disposable. In fact, she basically says 2 things to the warden. One of them is that these 2 girls are having intercourse in the shower, so that turns into a gang rape. And then the other, she says, oh, they're planning on escaping, and the warden is like, shut up, and of course, they escape. Then the snitch character is put to death and her body is exposed in the dinner room in front of all the other prisoners. The way I explain this film makes it seem way more disturbing than it actually is. In concept, this film is absolutely messed up, but then you have dialogue like this.
On her beautiful cut of cum laude.
Eventually, we meet the governor. What does he govern? The region. Come on, people. Pay attention.
You ought to be running a different house, Warden.
And of course he's not just a politician, but also a scumbag. I know those 2 things are kind of hand in hand, but this guy is extremely a scumbag, because he runs a brothel. And he really likes our new characters, especially Jennifer. He brings them to his brothel where you see ladies dance. And this film doesn't really have a concept of time because every time we cut back to the brothel, they're still wearing the same thing. The governor kind of falls with Jennifer's attitude and he offers her a deal. He wants her in his big event with a lot of influential people so she can entertain them, if you catch my drift. She refuses, so we get the scene from the cover, which is completely messed up. Basically, Jennifer is bound and gagged as another woman is brought, also bound and gagged, while a snake is taken out. Again, in concept, this is absolutely messed up, but in execution, it's kind of laughable. This mental torture of course makes it that she accepts the governor's offer, and the governor basically hires her as an event planner, so she's gonna plan this big soiree, which translates to her planning the escape from the jail. So she hires her best friends and they entertain the men. While everyone falls drunkenly asleep, they run away, but they're still in the jungle, and then this film turns from a typical woman in prison film that's funny but not super interesting into this weird surviving the game with cannibalism and tribes, as the governor and his men try to hunt down the prisoner who have escaped, which leads to dialogue like this.
And you're a shit ass!
With writing like that, who needs talent? The governor also hires native tribes people. Cinema. And then we basically see the prisoners get picked off one by one in horrendously graphic and disgusting detail. And this is where the goofiness of the film kind of takes the backseat to pure mean-spiritedness. Is that a word? Probably not, I don't speak English. And we see some vile, disgusting thing. One lady gets her tongue cut off, and then her breast cut off, and then the soldiers decide that now is time for sexy time. Another one is shot multiple times, and again, after she's shot like 100 times, the soldiers are like, it's time for sexy time.
Did you notice? I can't hear them anymore.
Eventually, the older prison lady just hurts herself and she stays behind, where she will act as a trap, and she kills one of the soldiers, but not before he decapitates her. And honestly, for a movie that was probably shot for a pack of cigarettes in the Philippines, the special effects are actually pretty good. This leads only two characters alive, Jennifer and some other lady. I think it's the white one. I don't really remember. I've just saw this film and I've seen it 3 times. I don't know how I forget such details, but here I am. And she gets captured. But not Jennifer. She turns into a badass and starts fighting back. Eventually, after jumping off a fall, a nice trivia is apparently Yvette wanted to do her own stunts for this scene. Bruno was probably like, I still need you for the shoot, so no. As they capture the other lady, which wasn't the older lady, I just remembered. The older lady actually survives, but she gets captured, and the warden is like, I'll use you as an example, so she brings her back to the prison. But not before the police arrives, because Jennifer told the police about this, and they arrest everyone, and all is good. Forget about, you know, the massacre of innocent prisoners. Jennifer is still alive. Thank you, Bruno. Very cool. The end.
And you're a shit ass!
So, what did I think of The Jail, The Woman's Hell? I love this film. As I've mentioned, I've seen this multiple times. It's one of the mid-2000s films from Bruno Mattei that I've watched the most. That and his zombie films, because those are also glorious. This one is just so mean, yet so incompetent that you can't do anything but laugh at the goofiness. As I've mentioned, the dubbing, the dialogue, the acting is atrocious, so it makes the scenes that are supposed to be disturbing really not that disturbing. All in all, it's this very typical, very cliche woman in prison film, but you don't expect that from a film that came out in 2005 or 2006, which makes it even more weird. Like, why were people still producing this kind of film in the mid-2000s? And why did Bruno never get better at making movies? But I unironically love Bruno Mattei. As I've mentioned, he's probably the director I've watched the most movies from this year. Again, sorry, just Franco. Because just this week, I've watched 3 of his goddamn movies. Why? Because I unironically love him. He's brought me so much joy, so much entertainment, and this one is no exception. Tried to find a way to watch this. I don't know if the Intervision DVD is still in print. Probably not. But yeah, recommended.